would like to do in the next couple of minutes is just talk a little bit about how to roll your own and do this into your own classes or out of class activities if you're interested as an instructor. And then if you're a learner, just go through the lesson and know that these resources are available to you as well. So every lesson, gateway, beginner, and eventually the intermediate lessons will all have a lesson plan like this. So the lesson plan is just kind of a short PDF document designed to give the instructors a little bit of a guide on how you can actually roll it out. We have learning objectives, the concepts. It's not all the concepts, but some select key concepts that the students are going to learn in the lesson. And importantly, it gives a little bit of a guide for preparation. As you can imagine, there's a little bit of repetition. So you can kind of skip over this document if you've taught a couple of them. But it talks about, the process for registering, some ideas in terms of how to get ready to go. So the one thing that we ask everyone to do is kind of prepare a brief introduction that helps learners understand that it's self-led. So, generally you actually don't walk the learners through each individual slide. You let people go at their own pace. Some, of course, will race ahead. Some will take a little bit longer. For the students who race ahead, there's other lessons that they can take. Or importantly, they can help other learners as well. So we did design this, the lessons to be completed well within an hour. But of course, for accessibility purposes, the time ranges can vary. And what we'd like you to do in the introduction, for every instructor is try to, make connections for what you've been talking about. So whatever the class is, try to draw connections as to what they're going to learn and why it's important later on. And, I think it's really important to remind students that, they're not going to be an expert in this beforehand, and it's okay if they're not comfortable with all of the concepts and the topics. And it's just, giving it a go in an hour. The level of technological anxiety, I think, tends to be quite high for some learners. So it's important just to kind of help people reduce that anxiety and kind of build their confidence. So in the before times, you could have them raise their hands. So now you can do it either virtually or through email. And then, have just kind of a brief wrap up that highlights what they talked about, maybe connect it to what you're going to talk about next, or, what they could do with it, and then have some additional resources handy for students who might finish a little bit early. So we have a number of those materials at the bottom of the PDF. And then we just have this instructional guide that kind of gives a little bit of a time frame. So the gateway lesson takes, 35-ish minutes. I would expect, the instructors might complete it a little bit faster just because you already have some background knowledge in some of these topics. Importantly, as an instructor, I don't know is a perfectly acceptable answer. Students may ask questions that you actually don't have the answer to because you don't have the answer. I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir, as it were. But I think it's important to point out, because I think sometimes instructors only want to teach what they really are knowledgeable in. And I guess my background has been very interdisciplinary. So I've been very comfortable with saying, I have no clue, but let's try to figure it out. So I think it's important, as you're introducing these new topics, if they're new to you, to just say, let's look it up together. And then at the end, after the lesson, we actually have a exploration component that allows you to have a little bit more flexibility and try some other things to gauge or to jump into topics in a little bit more depth.